What's up, guys? Back again with the 13 Forte. While we're putting the brakes on it, we're going to do an oil change. We'll show you how to get the oil out, swap the filter, and refill it. Not a huge deal. If you've never done it before, we'll show you where to go, what to do. So here's all our stuff we're going to be using, with the exception of our tools, which we'll get to. We've got our oil. We're going up a little bit in weight because Florida's a really hot climate. We've got our new filter, and let's get to work. So here we are under the car. We're specifically underneath the passenger side. We just did the brakes over here, so it's a good time for us to do this. Here's our drain plug here, at the tip of my pinky finger there. This particular drain plug is not the stock size for this car, so I can't help you with what size yours is. This one's an aftermarket one. It was replaced, and for whatever reason they used one with a huge head on it. This particular one's a 17 millimeter.
I believe they normally come with a 13 or a 14.
That sounds about right, honestly. But that's what we got, and I'm also hoping that they didn't make it super tight. We're going to find out. You might hear me curse. There might be some bleeping. I mention it because I'm already anticipating it. But anyway, if you follow this straight forward in front of the drain pan, your filter is up here. We'll have to loosen that too, but that's where it is. It's really actually a pretty decent place. Thank you, Kia. But we start with the drain plug over there, and let's see how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be to get it loose. This car is hot, so my cursing might also be preceded by screaming like a 2-year-old. Oh,
okay.
all right. Okay, so once you crack your drain plug loose, and by the way, make sure that you hit the camera. It's very important. Also, make sure that you pull it really hard just in case it's super tight, but then it's not. So we're going to loosen it. And loosening a drain plug is a little bit of an art. As I'm spinning it loose, I'm going to be pressing in on it. And it's about feel. I'm going to continue pressing in and spinning until I can't feel it coming out anymore. And then I'll quickly move my hand away and hopefully not get oil all over my hand. This one is also a little tight because when they replaced it, they put a new gasket on it, and the gasket on it is new and tight. So pressing in and spinning. And once we get to the end too, once it stops coming out, we might also see a little drop of oil like that. And I'm going to move my hand quick. I got a little spot on my thumb. That's not bad. We're going to leave this alone for a few minutes to drain, and we're going to put our drain plug in a place that we know it's not going to get lost or covered in dirt. For me, it's going to be right here on top of this splash shield. It'll sit there like a little shelf, and we're just going to leave it alone while it does its thing. Alright, so we're pretty much done draining now. We're down to a drip. That's good enough. We're never going to get absolutely everything out of this oil pan. We have our drain plug here that we've kept nice and clean. And before we move the pan out of the way, we're going to get the drain plug back into the hole, kind of between drips, so we don't get oil all over our hands. Now, I'm not going to retighten this until the drain pan is all the way out of the way, so I don't swing my hand into the oil, which means I'm going to take the filter loose first. But my advice on tightening drain plugs is you really don't have to overdo it. Most torque specs on drain plugs are measured in inch pounds, 40 or 50 inch pounds. And when you think about it, there's 12 foot-pounds, or excuse me, there's 12 inch pounds to 1 foot-pound, so 48 inch pounds is only 4 foot-pounds. My point is, it doesn't have to be very tight. Spin it until it stops by hand, like I just did. Put your wrench on it. I'll probably only turn it maybe a quarter of a turn. That should be plenty. Yeah, and that's that. We're done with this section of the vehicle then. From there, we're going to move forward to our filter, and we'll get repositioned for that, and hopefully I can get it spun off there without screaming at the car too much. Yeah. So now that we've got our oil drain and the drain plug taken care of, I've slid the pan forward underneath the filter, because the filter is going to leak oil when we take it loose. This is the part where I'm definitely going to get oil on my hand, and there's really not a whole lot of ways to avoid it. I should be wearing gloves. I normally wear gloves. I didn't grab them. Whatever, I'm already down here. It's not going to hurt me. So this shouldn't be very tight. These should only be hand tight, which we'll see. Yeah, it's more than hand tight. I'm gonna need a pair of pliers probably. Also, another thing that happens is the rubber gasket on these sort of bakes itself on over time. No, I'm gonna need pliers. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I got a big pair of channel locks. This is not my biggest pair of channel locks. I honestly can't find them right now. But they should reach around this filter. This would be a good place for like a little filter wrench or something. If I can get them around here and get a good squeeze on this, I'll crush it a little bit and then it'll fit on here better. People are probably sitting at their computer right now screaming at me. I know, I just don't think these are going to be big enough. Nope. Nope.
Yeah, if you can't get it, there's no way either of us can.
You could have loosened it.
We still have other options. Okay, so my channel locks that I can find aren't big enough. Our next option is a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and we're going to drive the screwdriver through the filter and then use it as a handle to try and crack the filter loose. Not the most ideal situation, but it is an option in this situation. So if you find yourself in the same boat as I am right now, you can do this. Just be careful where you're swinging this hammer. And it shouldn't take much force to get it in there. Make sure you get it in there good. And once you get it in there, give it a twist. Oh my god. I think I'm bending the screwdriver.
Well, it definitely has to come off now. I can see the flex of the bending whenever you do that.
Of what?
Of the plastic.
The plastic. I can see the flex on my screwdriver too. I've definitely bent it. Fuck, this is tight. Okay, I'm just gonna let that drain for a second. I did mention this is the messy part, right? As oil just runs down my hand onto my driveway. I should also mention a good way to get oil off of a driveway is gasoline. If you dump a little bit of gasoline on there and kind of hit it with a brush, it'll lift the oil, and then you can throw kitty litter on it and it'll soak it all up.
Not that he hasn't had to do that many times before.
Nope, just heard about it once from a guy I know. Same name as me. Ironic. Very handsome. I think that's good enough. I'm trying to see under here. Try and get it in there from a different angle. Did I mention the gasoline and the kitty litter? That was right in my eye. Really? You know, I showered about 20 minutes before we started making this video, too. At this point, there's just no real avoiding making a mess.
At this point?
Yeah, no, the mess is made at this point, so screw it. Ah. Oh crap, now I can get the screwdriver out.
Oh, I see movement.
Oh yeah, no, it moves, but when I pull it over here, then the flash shield's in the way of the screwdriver. Let go! Fuck you guys! Ah! Are you serious? No,
Your hand's too oily to turn it now.
It really is. It really is. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna have to remove this splash shield. I don't know who wasn't listening before, but I definitely said that. I hope a bug flies in your mouth.
Do you have shop towels anywhere?
No. Nope. It's a simple oil change. Why would I need to go buy $10 worth of shop towels for an oil change? If you use $10 worth of shop towels on every oil change, you won't make any money. So I don't normally have shop towels around for an oil change. I mean, not that I'm making money anyway. This is all for entertainment. Are you still recording?
Yeah.
Good. This is for you, YouTube. See what I go through? You better be freaking grateful.
So it's only half the splash guard we took off.
Yeah. Yeah, so as speaking of splash guards, as I was saying in the beginning of this video, you're going to have to remove the splash guard. Otherwise, your oil filter handle's going to be in the way of it. Or it's going to be in the way of it. You know what I mean?
Didn't have to take it off last time.
The last time it wasn't baked on here.
Okay, Terrence.
I have no, that was my only excuse. That doesn't work, huh?
Nope. Not on me.
Not on me. I didn't do it. I am crazy.
Someone needs a nap.
I would love a fucking nap. Don't tease me. Hey, did any core supports broken that holds on your AC condenser?
Remember whenever she hit the raccoon thing and then you were just like, well, your AC still works, so I wouldn't touch it.
You know what? That's actually about what I was going to say just now.
So he's got his screwdriver in there and he is turning the oil filter. Because his hand is too oily now, so he can't do it by hand.
I have to squeeze so hard right now to get a grip that my hand is actually shaking because my hand is so slippery. Man, I gotta get a towel to wipe down the bottom of the oil pan and everything. Right, so after you tighten your drain plug, you simply loosen your oil filter. And it should come loose very easy, just like this one did. And if anybody tells you differently, they're absolutely lying. Don't look at the ground right now.
Or your hand that's in the shot.
And once your oil filter easily comes loose like this one did, because the last person that did it was clearly very responsible at how he tightened things. You just spin it off, dump it out so the extra oil comes out, because it's gonna be filled with extra oil. It won't be all over the ground. And then dispose of this properly. And then you go wash your hands.
So here's our nice new oil filter.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
We're gonna have to take this gasket and grease it up a little with the oil before we put it on. I'll let Ben take care of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know if on that oil filter I forgot to put oil on this gasket or I over tightened it or what the problem was, but it was a little stuck. Just a bit, not much.
Just a bit.
So I'm going to put my finger in some of the old oil and run around this gasket some. And what this will do is prevent the gasket from sticking to the engine. So when you go to loosen it again, it won't be a pain in the ass. Also, the gasket will stay with the filter when you remove this filter. Sometimes, if you don't do this, the gasket itself will stick to the engine. And if you're not paying attention, you can put a new filter on top of the old gasket that's still stuck up there, and the oil filter will not seal. It'll, no matter how tight you make it, it'll never seal. It'll always leak. So we're just going to spin this on until it stops. Oh, right there it stopped. You see it? And then once it stops, we're going to go another half turn to 3/4 of a turn. On this one, we're going to stop at half. And that should be plenty. Remember, it's not going to be a drain plug, and we're done down here. Alright, we're all done down here. I need to clean this up and bolt this splash shield back on, but that's pretty much it. If you end up like me making a huge mess, I don't know what to tell you. Don't be like me, kids. So yeah, we'll see you guys up top while we're adding oil back into the engine. So now that we're done underneath, which only took a minute, by the way, if you think otherwise, it's a complete lie. We got our oil, and we've got our oil cap is off and our funnel is in. We're going to assume that this engine only takes 4 quarts. It's a 4-cylinder engine, so it's a safe assumption. What I'm going to do is pour 3 in, which you can see it starts here. I'll pour. So this is 1 quart, 2 quarts, 3 quarts. I'll pour it to the 2 quart line. So that means there's 2 quarts left in it out of 5. So we've got 3 in there. And I'll check it. At that point, I'm going to assume that it's going to be about a quart low. I will then pour the last quart in. And we'll start the engine for a second, make sure the oil pressure light goes out, make sure everything sounds normal, shut it off, recheck it. We may have to put a little bit extra in because we also changed the filter. So yeah, that's the plan. I've already gotten the little safety seal off of here, and we're going to pour 3 quarts into the engine. That's pretty close. We're going to leave it there for a second. I'm going to give this a second to drain, and then we'll check the oil. Simple oil change, they say. First thing you want to do is wipe off your dipstick. And yes, I'm using my shorts. They're already covered in oil. Don't ask me why. Alright. Closer. As suspected, see there's 2 dots on this. The bottom dot is the low mark and the top dot is the full mark, indicated by the F and the L. Between them is usually about a quart of capacity, and we're right at the bottom dot. So I'll go ahead and pour in our last quart, and I feel safe about doing that now, and then we should be done. We'll double check after I pour that, but we should be done at that point. The reason it's important not to overfill an engine with oil is because if you get it too full inside the oil pan and the bottom of the crankshaft as it's spinning comes down and starts splashing in the oil, it could possibly potentially create like frothing or foaming in the oil, and then your oil pump could potentially suck air in, and you're not going to get proper oil pressure, and you can do damage to the engine that way. In the same respect, you also shouldn't underfill it. So we're going to put in our last quart, and we'll double check, and then we should be done, besides starting it and making sure that our oil pressure light goes off. That is about it. As I throw the cap, it's very important. Don't forget to do that. And again, we'll give that a second to drain, and then we'll double check it. However, I imagine at that point we will be good to go. When we start the engine, we'll pay attention to the oil pressure light, or if you have a gauge, an oil pressure gauge, whatever. This car is going to probably have a light on it. It looks like a little genie lamp, like from Aladdin. You'll make sure that that goes. Like when you turn the key to run, but not actually start the car, you'll see that. And when the car's running, you'll make sure that that goes away after, I don't know, no more than 30 seconds or so. So we give this a second. See where we're at. Also, I want to point something out about this particular car, which I will in a second. Yeah, look at that. See the oil stops right there? That is right at the full mark. That is perfect. This car, the way that this intake is shaped, around where the dipstick tube goes, you see it holds a lot of dirt. I don't really like that, because as you're putting the dipstick back in, you may bump it and get some dirt down into that dipstick tube, which will go into the oil pan. So if you're using this video to change the oil in your Kia Forte, just be careful when you're putting this dipstick in and out that you don't get any dirt down your dipstick tube hole. That is it. Put our oil cap back on, and then we will start it to make sure that we are good to go. All right.